G'day, it's Jerry here. Today we're looking at this Centipede arcade game. This was released by a company called Basic Fun around about 2018. I do like it. It's a nice looking unit. It is built down to a cost, but it looks fantastic. The graphic art, the shape of the unit, all that sort of stuff. It's actually officially licensed to Atari, so they would have had to pay for this artwork. But all in all, it's quite a nice looking unit for the price, which I think was around about $20 US. What I don't like about this is the game that's on it. It's a terrible version of Centipede with some weird fake 1980s graphics on it. I don't think this was about the game itself or the gaming experience. Basic Fun created a game that they could sell, and they used their marketing ability to generate something that looks genuinely nice when hanging on a shelf. I think it was originally released in blister packaging, which is essentially plastic packaging that you can see through, and this actually came with a try me mode as well, so people could actually make it light up and have a look at it. So I think this is a great exercise in marketing, packaging, and I'm interested to see what's on the inside. So why don't we get straight to it. If you like this sort of teardown video, please think about subscribing to my channel. Give me a thumbs up. Let's just get straight into it, shall we? Okay, so we've got our on, off button. We have a sound volume control button, start, pause, and fire, and obviously our joystick here. So we'll turn it on. I'm sorry about the scratch on the screen. It is secondhand, so there's nothing I can do about that. But hopefully you can see these matrices here, which is emulating the VFD screen. Okay, so you can see here how large the characters of the Centipede are. I've turned the sound off because it's too annoying for me to talk over it. So you can see that the graphics are absolutely terrible. They're this, simulated VFD blocky graphics, and they're huge compared to the screen, or what the screen is capable of doing. And so I just struggle to understand why they're doing this. It just seems like a strange thing to do because it's just a terrible game. And played up close, if you pulled it up close to, I'm totally sure that the original graphics of the Centipede game would have been okay. Time for my favourite part, pulling stuff apart. There we go. Well, what do we got here? So I heard something rattle around inside. I'm guessing that's a button that's come loose. Yes, there we go. I'll put that back in a minute. Okay. So, what do we got here? So, this is the PCB for the buttons and the joystick here. This is the PCB for the two buttons here. Here is the speaker. Interesting. It looks like the board here has the LCD connected directly to it, maybe? Ooh, and there's a reset button on the back. That's interesting. So, what's that? The 9th of the 3rd, 2017? Or the 3rd of the 9th, 2017? So why is there a reset button? Is that for programming it? Putting the firmware onto it? What else have we got here? So here's the blob chip. So this is like probably a CPU. And the blob chip means that they don't have to put a package around it. They don't have to put it into its own shell before putting it on. They attach it directly to the board, and that saves money, is my understanding. So we've got a couple of unpopulated pads here, but apart from that it's all pretty standard. It's what you would expect. And there's a crystal oscillator to run what I'm guessing is a CPU here. Let's remove the board and see what's underneath. Okay. Well, that's neat, isn't it? So we've got the LCD screen is attached directly to the back of the board. One nice little unit. I really, you know, once again I go back to, it's just really well made. You know, whoever did this knew what they were doing. The plastic is excellent. Design of the board is excellent. Everything's on its own. Neat little PCBs. I'll just take that off. What's under there? Is that a battery or is that just the speaker? No, that's just holding the speaker in. Yeah, so fantastic. So what are the markings on this board? You can't see them. Start, down, left, right, up, fire. So these are the button connections, and they're clearly labelled on here. Okay, the other ones say on, off, sound, and ground. There's also a try me button. Try me. So what does that do? I think that had, from the blister packaging, it had the ability for them to try it. And it looks to be like there is a plug in there. Okay, so I just looked at the blister packaging photo. And I can see that it says it comes with batteries. Might be easier if we pull this thing off, hey? I mean, I have seen these try me things in other products, but I've never stopped to think how they worked. Okay. Ah, it's actually a button. So I'll just put that into continuity mode, and then I will put one on each side of the pins coming out of this switch, because it looks to be a momentary contact switch. Not that this is going to be easy. Okay, so it's on, and then if we press the button in, it's off. We let the button go, it's on, the button's in, it's off. What does that mean? So, is there anything else we haven't looked at? The only thing here is we've got these two pads here that are unpopulated. These are marked T2 and T1. So I'm thinking that these things are just test points. So the next thing is, I wonder if it's possible. So this says ground over here with T4. I wonder if there's data that you could look at on those test points. I've never tried scoping anything out like that. thought before we go too much further we could take a look at this board under the microscope just so that you can see what it's all about. So here we've got all the button connectors down here. I think they're labelled even. Yeah, so you can see the buttons. We've got the yellow wires here are the speaker connections. This is another button connector for the on-off button. We've got our Try-Me connection here, and of course we've got a power connection coming in. So got that. So we've got our reset button. I should turn this around. Would make more sense, right, if everything was the right way up. So there's the board revision details. So it looks like it's made specifically for the Centipede game. So there's our blob chip. We've got some circuitry here. We've got a crystal oscillator here which is sticking up, and I've sort of bent it a little bit as I was playing around with it. I think it probably should be connected to that pad, maybe that's a heatsink, or just to keep it down. It looks like it's covered in some sort of goop, so maybe at some point it was glued down, but it's just hanging out at the moment. So then we got some more circuitry over here, and these are the interesting things here. So, well, to me anyway, so we've got T1, T2, and we've got T4, which is ground. There doesn't appear to be a T3, and I'm taking that T stands for test, maybe? It's a bit hard to know. What I'm not seeing here, like I said, I'm not an expert, but what I'm not seeing here is I'm not seeing any sort of memory. So I don't know whether this chip is a microprocessor with memory on board, or whether it's some sort of custom chip designed for these sort of video games. I mean, my bet is on microprocessor. But, you know, how did it get programmed with the game? Pardon me, I'm just trying to focus in on this. So how does the game get programmed in? I was hoping that these T points might be, instead of just being test points, that there might be programming points. I mean, you've got your ground over here, and 2 points over here. So, you know, maybe that's some sort of serial port or programming port. I just don't know. You can see here that all of these vias, these wires, are coming straight from this chip. Let's call it a microprocessor to begin with, and that's connected directly to the LCD screen that's on the other side. So it's driving the display. And we've also got this is the power for the backlight. So the LED backlight, I think it says that LED. Yeah, so that's the backlight to the LCD screen. So looking here, it seems to be saying pin 54, pin 34, pin 33, pin 2, pin 1, pin 107, pin 87, pin 86. Now I wonder if they mean something. Like there's a microprocessor where those are important pins, which is why they've been labelled. Oh, there's T3 here. There's T3. So T3 is connected to the reset button. Ah. So I was wondering why there's a reset button. I've mainly used Arduinos, and Arduinos hide all of the shenanigans that go on with microprocessors when you need to upload the firmware, because I think often you need to short, you need to apply power while the reset button is switched, and maybe you need to drag some pins low or high or something like that to put it into programming mode. So we've got ground reset and 2 points here. You know, I'm a software guy, so I've only had a little bit of experience with microprocessors, and as I said, mainly from Arduinos. So, but to me that smells like some sort of microprocessor. But yeah, that seems to be everything that's there. So it's relatively simple, but it looks very professional at the same time. You know, it looks like somebody really knew what they were doing when they designed this board. To my untrained eye, anyway. Okay, so I think we should go back to the other camera and zoom out a bit so we can see the oscilloscope and start probing around and just look to see what is happening. See if we can't see anything else that's interesting. Alright, so what I've done is to try and make my life a little bit easier, I've soldered some wires onto these points that I'm interested in. So hopefully now I can attach the earth to there, and that will help me with probing around. I won't have to worry about finding an earth connection. Okay, so let's just start probing around and see if we can find some signals without blowing anything up. So you won't be able to see the screen, but I'll leave the sound going. Alright, so one of the things I'm interested in is what do you get from the crystal oscillator? Oh, now we've got a signal. So there's no frequency there. Let me just put this onto the other side of the crystal oscillator. Do we get exactly the same thing? So it's 2.97 on that side, the voltage, and it's 2.13. So there's a voltage drop across the crystal oscillator. Is that what's happening there? And should we have this on? We're not getting any frequency here, so I'm wondering if this needs to be AC coupling. I'm just never 100% sure. Oh yeah, okay. So we're now getting 32.8K as the frequency. And now it's turned off again. Okay. And it's locked in on the waveform. Okay, so that's good. So whatever this chip is running, whatever this chip is, it requires 32.8 kilohertz clock. Yeah, and so the voltage changes from one side to the other, which I'm guessing is the voltage drop across the crystal oscillator. Makes sense, right? I guess so. So what else could we look at? Okay, so do we get any waveform out of the speaker? And if so, what does that look like? So for that, we'll have to turn it on, and we will have to press the start button. And let's just probe the speaker. Okay. That's one side of the speaker, and that's the other side of the speaker. Okay, so that's what that looks like. Good to know. All right. So the other thing that I'm interested in is these wires here. You know, is there any data that comes out of these wires when it starts up or something like that? And I'm not really sure whether I should have that on AC or DC coupling. Okay, so on DC coupling it's giving us the voltage. And if I press the reset button, what happens? This is all a learning experience for me. So let me just connect the lead up to one of these T points. Oh, and there, did we get something? Okay, so that just pulls it down low. Oh, I've pulled that one off. Oh, I've pulled them both off. Did I pull off the pads? I think I did. Oh well, there's the end of that experiment. Didn't take very much to remove those pads. I don't think I was really getting anywhere anyway. So yeah, it's interesting. So what could those be used for, and how could they be used? I mean, clearly the test, well, I'm assuming that T stands for test. Clearly they're there for some reason, but it's beyond me. Okay, so I'm going to put this thing back together now, and if I can do that, then I'll probably give it back to the charity shop I bought it from. Oh dear, what's that for? It's not a button, and it's keyed, so what is that for? The joystick? Must be for the joystick. No way. What is that for? So I went back and looked at the video, and that button was loose in the case when I pulled the case off. So it's not involved in any of these things that are being screwed down. So I might screw them back down and then try and figure out where this button goes, or whatever it is. So this is interesting. I discovered just by trial and error that this is where this came from, because it has a little keyed section, so it fits in this post here. Why? Well, it appears that that presses down on the reset button. So when the back is on, the reset button is pushed down. Where'd my button go? Yeah, so this reset button thing has really got me intrigued. It all clicks beautifully into place. So let me just check all the buttons and everything before we screw the rest back in. Yeah, all looks good. Okay, so what do you think? What are the chances of this turning on? So it's not doing anything. I don't have the player down the bottom, and it turns itself off after 30 seconds. Well, that's the demo mode, the try me mode. And by taking that off, so maybe the try me mode, all it did was show you the display for 30 seconds. Didn't actually let you play it. So maybe this does need to go back in. Oh! Okay, I've soldered the try me button back on. Yes, and there you go. Turn the sound off. Yeah, so when the insert is in the try me, goes into this demo mode where you can't play it, and it only stays on for 10 seconds or 30 seconds or whatever it was. But when you pull it out, it then goes into normal playing mode. And then, of course, we've got the reset button thing at the back. I am so confused about this whole reset button business. I'm assuming that the reset button presses down on it. But if it does, it ain't going to turn on. So it can't possibly. It honestly looks as though when you press that all the way down, it holds down the reset button. But if it did, it wouldn't turn on, right? Yeah, definitely does not turn on if that reset button is pushed down. What on earth is this doing? It must be short. What would be the purpose of that? To make sure that that this cable doesn't accidentally push the reset button? Did they find out after they designed it that sometimes the cable pushed down on the reset button and so they designed a piece of plastic? No, surely not. You know what I could do? Hang on. Let me get something to make this just a little bit longer and then see if it engages. Okay, so I've got a little bit of tape here. Roll it up, stick it on the end of this button. So now the button, if it was stopping short of that reset button, would actually press down on it. Okay, so let's assume it is pressing the reset button now. Yeah. And it's not turning on. Right. Mystery solved as far as I'm concerned. So that reset button is, I reckon, part of the factory process of programming it or testing it, and it needs to be pressed. And when it's in production, when people are using it, it should not be pressed. And I reckon that they discovered this wire would press down on it, so they came up with this bodge. I'm sticking to that story because it's the only thing I can think of. This can't be touching it. Why else would it be there? If you've got an opinion about that, please let me know. Okay, that works. Otherwise, I'm going to stick to that. So we'll just get this back together, make sure it works, and that way I can return it to the charity shop where I bought it from. Unless somebody in the comments tells me something that makes me want to pull it apart again and take a look at those test pads. I'd love it if those test pads were programming and there was some sort of console behind it and you could, I don't know, connect to it via serial or something like that and communicate with it. If there's anyone out there who knows or thinks they know, drop me a comment. Just let me know if there's something else I can try. Just check it still works. Yes, it does. All right. Okay, well, I guess we'll leave the video there. Thanks for joining me on this little journey. I actually found this device to be quite interesting in the end, despite the terrible game. The insides did reveal a couple of surprises. The test pads, the reset button, the try me function, and that odd little spacer that apparently protected the reset button. Maybe indicates some problems with the design that they had to overcome at the last minute. Anyway, I find that stuff sort of interesting. I hope you did too. If you have some thoughts about what was going on and how I might actually use those test points, drop me a line. Think about subscribing to my channel, leaving me a like, and I'll catch you on the next video. Ciao.